the first thing I'm going to do is assemble the lanterns. They're really easy to put together. And then I'm going to grab a few different colors of orange paint and just paint the lanterns. This is a really thin paper, so use gentle brush strokes, but it also absorbs a lot of paint, so take your time and paint the whole thing. Then set these aside and just let them dry completely. While those pumpkins are drying, let's make some leaves and stems. So for the leaves, I just cut out a basic pumpkin leaf shape and I'm tracing it on green paper or cardstock, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut those out. To add a stem, I am just gluing on a green pipe cleaner, and I'm going to set this aside to dry as well. We'll twist it up into something fun when it's time to add it to the pumpkin. For the stem, grab some newspaper and cut off maybe about 2 to 3 inches. Then roll this up. I'm using newspaper because you can crunch it and manipulate it to make it look like a pumpkin stem. So I'm going to roll it up and secure it with some washi tape and kind of scrunch it into the angle that I think a pumpkin stem might look like. Then I'm just adding some brown paint and I'm going to let this dry. To get all of the words on the newspaper and the tape covered, you might need to use a couple coats of acrylic paint. Now that everything is dry, let's put this pumpkin together. So first we're going to add the leaf and the stem. So locate the top of the pumpkin, which has this little hook, and wrap the pipe cleaner once or twice around that hook. And then that extra piece that's hanging there, I'm going to twist it around my finger and make a little curly Q. That's going to hold the leaf and stem in place, no more glue required there. Now we're going to add a light to this. These lanterns come with lights. They have an on and off feature, so you can easily turn them on at night when you want them, but you can leave them off during the day, which saves the battery. I'm just going to hang this right on the inside. It's easy to do it now before adding the stem. To add the stem, I'm just going to use a whole bunch of hot glue on the bottom and secure the stem around the hook on the top of the pumpkin. Then I'm just going to add a little bit of string so I can hang these up in my window. This collection of pumpkins is hanging in front of my window. It looks great during the day and beautiful at night with those lights lit up. So I hope this inspired you to grab some paper lanterns and try your hand at making some pumpkins this fall.
Talk. On this episode, we're going to be working with some rope that I picked up at the local hardware store. It is a 1/4 inch rope, and what I'm doing is I'm wrapping that rope around 10 times, making sure I have a little bit of an inch stuck up on one side where I started and then an inch where I'm cutting off. Now you'll see this is going to be a mold for what we need because we're going to be making some really cute pumpkins. So I have my measurement here of how long my rope needs to be, and I need 3 of them. So I measured there on the rolling pin to get how long I needed, and now I cut 3 strips the same exact length. So depending on what you use to measure, you could use things smaller like a paper towel roll. You could use kind of wooden dowel that's large. Anything you want to wrap your rope around. It could change how many times you wrap around it for how big you want your pumpkin. But the general concept is we're going to be using this rope and tying it all together. But I am going to do something a little different. I'm going to show you these in a few different colors. I'm going to show you how I dyed the rope. And all I did was I took some chalk paint that I had. This one's a vintage duck egg color by Dixie Belle. And I watered it down just to make my own custom color wash. So I dipped that rope in there, got it nice and saturated, and let it dry. And so these are the 3 colors we're going to be featuring. It's a terracotta orange, vintage duck egg like you saw me use there, and then a cotton white. So once that's all dry, I'm going to pull back out to show you how to put these together. I'm going to pull back out the ropes that were dyed the vintage duck egg blue color. Now, I'm using my rolling pin again after it's all dry, and I'm wrapping it back around. And it is important to have the 1 inch sticking up on both sides there. And then I'm going to take some regular string. You could use wire for this part. I like to keep it all kind of natural fibers. So I'm using the rope. And I'm going to kind of just wiggle that main piece up there off of my rolling pin. Keeping my finger there. Hopefully you can keep up with what I'm doing by showing you the steps. And I fed that piece of string through there, and I want to tie it really tight. Here's the most important part of putting this together. This is just one piece of the 3 we dyed, because it's going to take 3 pieces of rope to make each pumpkin. So what you're going to do is you're going to get this tied really tight on this one section. Then I'm going to go ahead and fast forward and do the other 2 sections, just like you saw me wrap it around there. So once you're done with all that, you're going to trim up the excess string that you used to tie everything together, and then the extra inch that you had left to tie, go ahead and snip that off as well. So you'll do that to all 3 sections, and then I'll tell you how we're going to put them together. Now, this is not a new idea. You've probably seen rope pumpkins. You can do them with all different kinds of rope and twine. Really just have fun with it if you want. I really liked the way this one turned out. How it kind of kept its shape, and even if you use something with wire in it, it would keep its shape even more. But of course, the softer the fibers, the kind of more flimsy it may be, but you may very well like that. So, all right, so see how my 3 sections come together and make that pumpkin type shape? Then I'm going to grab a really long piece of string, and I'm going to run it through each section of the pumpkin. Once I have those all kind of where I could tighten them and attach them, I'm going to wait before I tie the knot, because I decided what I wanted to use as a stem. I've got a vintage spindle, just a piece. I keep a lot of that scrap type of stuff because that's my style, but you could use a number of things, sticks, cinnamon sticks, all kinds of stuff, even a pumpkin stem, like a faux pumpkin stem from another pumpkin you could try to use. But once I kind of know what my stem is going to be, I put it in there to make sure my hole in the center is good enough for me to pop that back in there in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten that and give it a double knot, and then trim off the excess rope. And because I did that with that spindle in place, it's not glued in yet, but because I did it with a spindle in place, I now have the proper sized hole for the center of this pumpkin. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pop that spindle back out of the center, and then we're going to make sure that it's attached securely. So you kind of can play with it and form your pumpkin shape. I love the way this came together. It's a really beautiful color to that vintage duck egg. So I just put a little bit of hot glue on the spindle itself and then inside the hole, and look at there. It's all nice, and that glue also helps just to kind of keep everything together. I'm going to embellish this a little bit with some beautiful greenery and some wire that I'm going to kind of create tendrils on the pumpkin. Just going to get a few pieces there and use a little bit of hot glue and kind of decorate and embellish. Now, as you might can tell, if you know how many different kinds of rope there are and how many different kinds of embellishments and things you could use for stems and all that, you could really make this one your very own. I hope you enjoyed seeing it come together and you're inspired to make one. So let's look at all the colors I made styled here on this vintage tray. You have the blue and then the white and then the orange. I think they look really lovely together. Well, again, I am Summer with hammondsnest.com. I really enjoyed showing you this one. I hope you have a great day, and I sure appreciate you watching me on Home Talk.